At midnight on the 28th of May, 1453, a Greek soldier climbed to the top of the Blackernai Wall and lit his watchfire the way he had every night for 7 weeks. The fire was small. The night was cold. Across the plain below, the Ottoman camp stretched from the Sea of Marmara to the Golden Horn, its fires too numerous to count accurately, burning all the way to the horizon. He had watched those fires for 53 nights. Then, before first light, the Ottoman war drums began, and by the time that fire had burned down to embers, the city behind him was no longer a city of the Roman Empire. It is the 29th of May, 1453. Constantinople, capital of the Eastern Roman Empire for 1123 years, is still standing. The last emperor is alive. The walls have not broken. By midday, none of that will be true. But this story does not start with the breach. It starts with walls that were supposed to outlast history itself. The Theodosian Walls had protected Constantinople for more than 1,000 years. Triple-layered, 40 feet high at their peak, built in the 5th century under the Emperor Theodosius II, and repaired by every emperor since, they had turned away Goths, Avars, Arab armies, Bulgarian invaders, and the soldiers of the Fourth Crusade. They were not simply fortifications. They were the visible argument that Constantinople could not fall. And in the spring of 1453, as Mehmed II, Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, positioned his forces outside the gates, the people behind those walls were still making that argument to themselves. They had reason to doubt it. The Eastern Roman Empire, by 1453, controlled almost nothing. Its territory had contracted over the previous century to the city itself and a handful of islands. The population inside the walls, once measured in the hundreds of thousands, had fallen to perhaps 50,000 people, gathered in small neighborhoods separated by overgrown lots where buildings had collapsed and never been rebuilt. Constantine XI Palaiologos, the last Byzantine emperor, wrote letters to Rome and to Venice asking for soldiers and ships. Some Genoese volunteers came. A few Venetian vessels arrived. In total, the garrison defending the city numbered roughly 7,000 men. The Ottoman force arrayed against them numbered, by most historical estimates, between 60 and 80,000. That was not a siege so much as an eclipse, 10 defenders for every 100 attackers. What no one inside the walls fully understood was the nature of the weapon aimed at them. A Hungarian engineer named Urban had first offered his services to Constantine and been turned away. The Byzantine treasury could not pay what Urban was proposing to charge. Urban went to Mehmed instead. Over the winter of 1452 to 1453, he built the largest cannon the world had yet constructed, capable of throwing a stone ball weighing more than 500 kilograms, roughly the weight of 2 large horses, more than a mile. The Ottoman army dragged it to the walls in April and began firing. It could discharge only 7 times per day. Each reload required several hours. But each shot cracked stone, and the defenders could fill the gaps with earth and timber only so fast. For 7 weeks, the outer wall at the gate of St. Romanus had been broken and repaired, in a contest the city was slowly losing. The sentry on the Blackernai Wall had watched those repair crews every morning. He would look back on every night he had stood his watch and wish the conclusion had been different. The situation in the harbor was no better. A great iron chain stretched across the mouth of the Golden Horn had kept the Ottoman fleet from Constantinople's northern shore. In April, Mehmed solved this by doing what his commanders had assumed was physically impossible. He had his ships dragged overland. Working through the night of April 22nd, on greased wooden rollers, the Ottoman fleet moved across a ridge of land roughly 12 miles long and was lowered into the Golden Horn on the far side of the chain. By morning, ships that had been locked out of the harbor were anchored inside it. The Byzantine defenders watching from the sea walls could not understand what they were seeing. The same thing that had made the city defensible on the landward side was now working against it. The walls required defenders at every section of the perimeter. Constantine shifted what few troops he had to cover the harbor wall. That decision thinned the garrison at the Blackernai section to the north, where the fortifications were single-layered and already the thinnest point in the entire defense. He had no good options. He had not had a good option since April. The night of May 28th was unlike the 52 that came before it. The Ottoman camp went silent. Mehmed II had ordered his men to rest before the final assault, and the quiet that settled over the plain was, according to every account written in the days that followed, more unsettling to the defenders than the cannon fire had ever been. Inside the city, Constantine XI spent his last hours as a ruler in the Hagia Sophia. George Francis, a Byzantine court official who had served the emperor for decades and who would later write the only surviving first-hand Greek chronicle of the fall, was present that night. He recorded that the liturgy was the last Christian service ever conducted in that building, and that for the first time in years, Greeks and Latins stood together without arguing. Constantine received communion. Then he rode to the walls, stopping at each gate to speak to the men posted there. Francis wrote that the emperor asked his subjects to forgive him for whatever he had failed to do. In a few hours, those words would be all he had left to give. At approximately 1 in the morning on May 29th, the Ottoman drums broke the silence. The first assault wave was the Bashi bazooks, irregular troops considered expendable, sent against the walls first to exhaust the defenders and test the gaps. Niccolo Barbaro, a Venetian physician inside the city who maintained a detailed daily diary throughout the siege and whose account remains one of the primary records for what happened that night, wrote that the noise was unlike anything he had heard across the previous 53 days. The drums, the horns, and the shouting seemed to come from all directions at once. The Bashi bazooks held the walls for 2 hours. The defenders beat them back. If that sounds like a victory, what followed was not. The second wave was better soldiers. The Anatolian Corps struck the Blackernai section, where the sentry had stood his 53 nights of watch. The single wall there had no secondary line behind it to fall back to. The Genoese commander, Giovanni Giustiniani Longo, had led the defense of the main gate for the full 7 weeks of the siege. He was the most experienced officer inside the city, and the volunteers under his command had held the most exposed section of wall through sustained bombardment and 2 assault waves in a single night. Around 4 in the morning, Giustiniani was struck by a shot. The exact location of the wound is disputed in the sources, some describing the arm, others the chest or side. What the sources do not dispute is what he did next. He asked Constantine for the key to the rear gate so he could fall back and have the wound treated. George Francis recorded that Constantine begged him to stay. Giustiniani left. This is where the story takes the turn the defenders had feared for 7 weeks. His men saw their commander withdraw and began to follow. They had not surrendered, they had simply stopped. The moment the Genoese pulled back through the gate, something broke in the defense that no repair crew could fill and no order could restore. While the outer wall gave way, something else had already broken at the northern end. A small postern gate called the Kerkoporta had been left unlocked in the confusion of the night fighting. Whether this was negligence or accident, or the chaos of soldiers moving in the dark, is not clearly established by any contemporary source. What the sources show is that a group of Ottoman soldiers found the gate, pushed through it, and were suddenly inside the walls without having fought over them at all. They climbed to a nearby tower and raised the Ottoman banner. The defenders below saw the flag on the inside of the wall. A flag on the inside meant the wall was already behind them. Panic moved faster than any command. The main gate broke. Ottoman soldiers poured through the gaps the cannon had been making for 53 days. The defense that had held through 53 nights ended in minutes. Constantine XI reportedly removed his imperial regalia. Francis wrote that the emperor said it would be better for him to die than to be taken. Constantine rode into the fighting. No witness who survived that morning was positioned close enough to record clearly what happened to him. His body was never conclusively identified. Francis searched among the dead for his emperor and could not find him. By early morning, the city had fallen. Mehmed II entered Constantinople around midday and rode to the Hagia Sophia, which had stood as a Christian cathedral for 916 years. He ordered it converted to a mosque before the afternoon prayer. By nightfall, it was something else. The watchfire on the Blackernae Wall had gone out. There was no one left to feed it. George Francis escaped in the chaos and spent the years afterward writing down what he had witnessed, because he understood that if he did not, these things would be lost. The chronicle he left is one of the few accounts written by someone who had been inside the walls until the final hours. It gives us the night in the Hagia Sophia, the emperor's last circuit of the gates, and the sound of the drums beginning in the dark. It does not tell us what became of the soldier who had kept the watchfire burning on the Blackernae Wall. The chronicles record who gave the orders. They rarely record who kept the fires. That is what 53 nights of holding a wall leaves behind. A precise record of every decision that preceded the breach, and almost nothing about the men who stood the watches, believing that one more night would be enough. They had held for 53 nights, surely one more morning. Next time, we stand inside the last hours of another place that did not see it coming. Subscribe, and the door stays open.